Hello everyone, welcome back to Assetto Corsa Competizione for a long overdue return to the Coach Dave GT3 Sprint on Low Fuel Motorsport. We're at Watkins Glen today and boy am I feeling rusty. My last few outings in ACC have all been in the GT4 class, so this is my first time driving the GT3 in 6 weeks. I've had very little free time for sim racing this week, so I've had to dive into this one without any practice, and it really shows. We're car number 2 in a fairly low split, yet we've only managed to qualify all the way down in 25th, so a far cry from the competitive performances we were putting in a month or so ago, but it's to be expected given the lack of track time. Let's get on track to see if we can salvage anything from this one.
Green light, give it OK.
Well, the lights are green and already we're getting nudged from behind by Charles Shearer in the McLaren. In fact, we're sandwiched between 2 McLarens. We've also got Dimitri Lukovkin in the bright green Macca in front of us, going very cautiously into T1. We gingerly step out into the middle to try and get around him, but I'm glad I did because there were 2 cars that had spun to the inside. So do you know what? I think we've come out of T1 in quite a healthy position. Not only did we pass the 2 cars on the grass to the inside, we were also able to make an overtake on Heiko Müller. He had to get off the gas to avoid those 2 spinners. In addition to that, I think I saw another car out on the runoff area to the left, so we may have gained as many as 4 positions. And in fact, the leaderboard has just updated as we complete Sector 1. We're actually in 20th, so we've picked up 5 places. And not only that, we've got a nice little bit of breathing room behind us too. Almost 1 second back to Lukovkin in 21st. That's a really healthy little gap to have so early in lap 1. We might not keep it though because the pack are going to concertina together as we get out to the back part of this circuit. But yeah, all in all, a really positive start for me. 5 positions gained. Let's go back and check out the replay, see if we can see what happened to those drivers who got caught up in the turn 1 melee. Now look towards the middle of the pack. We're going to zoom in on the number 21 McLaren, the green and black car of Dionisio Avellaneda. He's going to get a little tap from behind, right there from Alex Kaland in the Aston Martin, and then Kaland gets a nudge of his own from Heiko Müller, and that explains why we managed to get past all 3 of them. Right, let's switch angles. Keep your eye on that green and blue Porsche on the outside line. That's Roger Mayer. He's just going to get squeezed off track by the car in the middle, trying to avoid that crash. Right, let's return to the live action towards the end of lap 1, and as predicted, the pack is getting closer together. Lukovkin behind now, just 0.6 of a second back, but we are right on the tail of this pack in front. Andrea Selva in 19th, just 0.2 of a second in front. In fact, we're all going to be promoted a position. Neil Edwards in the Ferrari taking a trip down pit lane. Selva, meanwhile, occupying a defensive line into T1. That sends me out a little wider than I would have liked. I couldn't quite turn in an apex at the point I wanted to. That is going to cost me big time down this fast straight. We've already lost a few tenths to Selva, and look at Lukovkin behind. He is closing right in now. He's carrying far more speed, and with a bit of tow, I suspect he's going to breeze past down the inside. Sure enough, he makes his move. Now I've seen enough wrecks at this inner loop to know that it's probably not a wise decision to try and fight it, so we're going to give him the place and hopefully we'll hold off Charles Shearer behind. We have done, and we've lost another driver out to the left. That was Marco Kuhlmann in the McLaren who spun out, so no sooner do we lose 19th position to Lukovkin, we get it right back, and look at the battling that's going on in front. Lukovkin all over Brian Boas in the BMW. In fact, there's a little bit of a gap. We stick our nose up the inside, however we're going to be on the outside for this hairpin. Can we carry the speed to make this pass around the outside? It's unlikely, and in fact it's opened up a gap on the inside for Charles Shearer to have a look. We get pushed out a little wide onto the grass. I don't think there's anything we can do about this, and we've dropped back to 20th position. Shearer up to 19th. Okay, let's see what happened to Kuhlmann. He's the purple McLaren in the middle of this battle through the inner loop. He's just going to get a nudge from behind right there. That sends him slightly offline. He clips the grass to the outside, and that causes him to lose control. Meanwhile, once we all get by, I had a sniff of a pass on Lukovkin. We're side by side at this point approaching the hairpin, but ultimately this line didn't do me any favours because it left a gaping hole for Charles Shearer to dive through. Well, by lap 3, things were starting to spread out. However, we're going to get our 19th position back. Look to the left of the screen as we come up through the S's. That's Pedro Gomez in the Audi, who's come a cropper at the top of the hill. And from the replay, we can see that it's caused by just taking a little bit too much of that inside curb. It unsettles the car. The rear steps out ever so slightly, but he can save it at that speed and drills the barrier hard. And then at the end of the lap, we gained another position. This one a little bit harder to explain. That's Michael Augustinek in the BMW, who actually qualified 6th on the grid, but it seems like he just lost his steering for a moment. Well, things really did settle down after that 3rd lap, so we're going to rejoin the live action on lap 6. We're still in 18th position, about 0.4 of a second behind Charles Shearer in 17th, but nearly 1 second ahead of Heiko Müller in 19th. However, as we get to the inner loop, the yellow flag's round. Look to the right, there's another Audi out on the runoff area. That was Benjamin Kruger, and we're up to 17th. Remember a few laps ago when I backed out of a battle into the inner loop? This was exactly the reason why I did that. Kruger on the inside, trying to make a move on Mimo Flow in the silver Audi, but look, 2 into 1, just don't go. There's contact and Kruger slides out. Yeah, to go too wide through this chicane, you need to have 100% trust in your fellow driver. It can go wrong so easily, as we've seen here. And it gets worse, actually. Look at Kruger's rejoin. He comes back onto the track, clips one car, loses it again, and then takes another one out. Lap 7 now. We're all running at a fairly identical pace, which is making it really difficult to close the gap. However, we're going to see a mistake from Shearer through the outer loop. Look at him run way too deep on exit. He's got to get off the gas to avoid running into the wall, and that gives us a proper opportunity to put him under some pressure here. Into the left-hander. We're right on his tail. That gap has been wiped out in an instant. And while it's good news that we've closed right in on Charles Shearer, it does mean that the 2 drivers behind, Heiko Müller and Roger Mayer, are going to have a fantastic opportunity to close the gap on me. I've done a pretty good job of opening up some breathing room behind, but yeah, as the pack comes closer together, Müller and Mayer could work together here to reel me in. But the trouble is, I just haven't had the track time this week to feel truly competitive. It's all about damage limitation today. And sure enough, look in the rearview mirror, those 2 cars behind are getting visibly larger with every corner. Heiko Müller just 0.2 of a second behind as we approach the end of this 7th lap. Meanwhile, in front, it looks like Shearer has found his rhythm again. He's almost a second clear. Speaking of rhythm, I've got none of it through this final corner. Missed the apex completely, almost clipping the wall. Had to get off the gas. That's allowed Müller to get by, and surely it's going to allow Roger Mayer to get by as well on the inside into T1. It has done. Just like that, we've dropped 2 positions down to 19th. Yeah, it's so easy to miss this apex into the final turn, and this was the worst possible time to do it when I've got 2 cars breathing down my neck. Both of them took full advantage. Well, by lap 9, I was in real danger of getting left behind. Look at that gap to Mayer and Müller in front. They're now 2 seconds clear already. However, the yellow flags are going to come out. We are going to get a freebie to put us back into 18th. That's Dmitry Lukovkin, who just carried a bit too much speed into this left-hander. The rear steps out, he clips the curb, and he is gone. Back to the live action then at the end of lap 10, and we're beginning to find some pace now. We're gradually reeling in these cars in front, helped in no small part by the fact that they are fighting really hard now for that position. We're going to gain another place. There's a driver in pit lane, so that puts us up to 17th. Now look in front, Roger Mayer making a move up the inside of Heiko Müller into T1. Müller runs really wide to try and give him space. That's going to compromise his exit, and that is going to allow us to get right on the tail of my fellow BMW driver as we work our way up through the S's. But yeah, healthy advantages can get wiped out in an instant here at Watkins Glen. These drivers were 2 seconds clear half a lap ago, and now I'm right with them. So we're going to fast forward to the end of the lap. The gap has opened up a little bit again, but these guys are fighting so closely. It's only a matter of time before I close in on them, and it's not just those 2 as well. We can also see the driver in 14th within distance, but watch Müller. He's going to try and return the favour into T1 and tuck it up the inside of Roger Mayer. This time, is he going to be able to do it? Mayer leaves him room. In fact, Mayer runs out over the curb. That's going to cost him some pace. This could be the opportunity for us to challenge up the inside through the S's. Look at Müller. Oh, I felt sure Müller was going to stack it. Then he was completely out of control. We had to lift ever so slightly. That might hinder under our challenge alongside Mayer. No, we've still got the pace on Mayer, and we've made the pass stick, and now we're going to tuck right in behind Heiko Müller into the inner loop. The white flags are out. There's been an incident. Oh, and among all the drama, we've completely fluffed our lines through that chicane out onto the grass. We've had to surrender the position back to Mayer. Yeah, I think there was just too much going on. It was an overload for my brain and I lost it completely. Let's check out the replay. This is Heiko Müller tucking it up the inside of Roger Mayer. There was a gap there. I went for it, but watch Müller in front of me. He gets completely out of shape. That causes me to lift off the gas ever so slightly. Thankfully, it didn't cost me the pace. I made it past Mayer, but then got it all wrong coming through the inner loop, and I had to give the position back and rejoin safely. Lap 13 now, and we've just not been able to get back onto the rear end of that Porsche in front. 1 second now is the gap to Roger Mayer, and we've got a new problem in the rear view mirror too. Remember Alex Kaland? He was the driver involved in that turn 1 incident. Well, he's one of the faster drivers on the grid, and he's working his way through the pack. He's behind us now, and he's going to capitalise on another slight mistake from me and just get a bit of a slide on at the worst possible moment. It leaves a big gap up the inside. Kaland goes through, and we're also going to come under attack. Tom Thompson behind. Now, the last time I made a mistake, it cost me 2 positions. Thankfully, this one hasn't done. But yeah, we can see the slide on the replay, just being a bit greedy with the brakes, braking a little bit too late, carrying too much speed. There's the slide. It causes me to miss the apex and opens up the gap for Kaland to dive through. Back to the live action, and we are just starting the last lap. 1 more lap to go here at Watkins Glen. Realistically, I think 18th is the best I can hope for. I've just not got the pace to challenge these guys in front, unless, of course, there's a mistake. Now, we know that Kaland is a lot faster than us, but unless he gets around those cars in front of him, he's not going to be able to pull away. So we could use that to our advantage here and get towed along a bit. And yeah, that's exactly what is happening as we come up the hill. Clemens Raff in the green BMW in 16th probably saw the pace that Kaland had, so he moved to a defensive line. He's powerless to stop Kaland getting through, and we can challenge as well here. We tuck right in behind the green BMW through the inner loop. So I suspect Kaland may clear off now, but we've got an opportunity to maybe snatch 17th from Raff instead as we come around the outer loop. Raff's a little bit wide. He has to swerve back onto the track. That opens up a gap on the inside, which we can take. Now we've got to get this job done here because we don't want to be hung out to dry on the outside for this upcoming hairpin, and we have got the job done. We're up to 17th. Wow, well, I wasn't really expecting the opportunity to gain another place on this last lap, but we put ourselves in the best possible position to capitalise if that opportunity arose, and that's exactly what happened around the outer loop. Watch Clemens Raff. He gets on the gas a little bit too early. It sends him out too wide. He rejoins the track, but in doing so opens up the gap that we dive into. So yeah, really thrilling conclusion to this race. We're going to cross the line in 17th. Now, of course, that's way down the order compared to where we were competing the last time I raced this GT3 series, but I'm not overly concerned. As I said at the start of the video, I've had such limited track time. It was always going to be a tall order to get anywhere near the top 10, but it was a fun and enjoyable race. That's the most important thing, and it was even more dramatic out front. This is the last lap and the battle for the lead. Now, the race leader is Andre Veselu. He clips the wall here, and that is going to put him under real pressure for the final couple of corners from Gaten Bomb in second and Rudy Wilkins in third. Look how close they are coming into the final turn. The leader, Vesely, is going to run it in a little bit deeper as well, which gives Bob the opportunity to charge for the checkered flag. Is he going to do it? Not quite. The 3 of them cross the line within a 1/10 of a second of each other. Fantastic stuff up and down the grid here at Watkins Glen. Here are the classified results then, and there we are actually in 16th place. Now, when we passed Clemens Raff, that was for 17th place, but in the classifieds we've been given 16th, so there must have been another DNF over those final few corners that we didn't see. And a quick glance of the fastest lap time showed just how much off the pace I was, but ultimately I started 25th, I finished 16th. We gained 9 positions in that race, so that's got to be considered a success. Well, that's all from Watkins Glen for today. Hopefully the next time I get a chance to race this series, I'll have a little bit more time to practice and be a bit more competitive. But in the meantime, this video just goes to show you don't have to be fighting at the front of the pack to have a thoroughly enjoyable race. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one.